A damning report on the Metro gang strike force. A state investigation into the group's activities uncovered serious new issues. The report found what it called substantial misconduct, including theft of cash and electronics by up to 12 officers in the 34-member gang fighting unit. The FBI is now investigating these new allegations. We have with us tonight one of the co-chairs of the state report, Andy Luger. He's a former assistant U.S. attorney. Good to see you, Andy.
Thanks.
You know, when you look at this report, these officers are accused of allegedly taking seized property for themselves. Are there criminal actions in here? Can you press charges?
Sure. Well, I can't. But the United States Attorney and the FBI will look carefully at this. And as I said in the report, and as I told people the other day, if you take home property that you know belongs to somebody else, that in and of itself is a crime. When you do that as a sworn officer or an employee of a police agency, it makes the matter worse.
You know, when I read the report, the first thing that I thought of was, boy, this is pretty surprising for Minnesota.
It is. I moved to Minnesota in 1992 from New York, where I was a prosecutor in Brooklyn for 3.5 years, and I've never seen anything like this before.
Was it a case of being understaffed or underfunded, or just a culture of permissiveness, or what was at play here?
It was a bit of all of that. First of all, you had a standalone police agency. It was an agency that didn't really belong to any one organization. That's something that we find troubling, and it's something we're recommending that we not do again in Minnesota. So you lose a little bit of accountability. There was understaffing. There were problems with staffing. One of the things that we said in our report, because we heard the complaints about staffing and funding over and over again over the last few months, is if you don't have the proper staffing to do the job right, shut it down. Don't just complain about it.
You know, what also struck some of us was it appears some of the officers were shaking down suspects, and for no apparent reason, you know, stopping people and seizing their property.
I think one of the things to remember is this was a gang strike force, and as all the advisory board members that we talked to, the heads of the different police agencies that sent officers to the strike force, what they told us was we expected these people to be investigating gangs. What we found are case after case where they were doing just the opposite. They were out roaming around the cities and stopping people, traffic stops and other ways that we detail in the report, most of which had nothing to do with gang activity. Almost all of those cases ended in the seizure of funds from the people stopped.
And these were mainly minorities that were stopped, is that fair?
Unfortunately, that's true. Now, the gang strike force didn't, also investigated cases involving people who were not of color, but these kinds of stops, which were very disturbing for a lot of reasons, did tend to focus on people of color.
So that brings up a whole nother argument of racial profiling. Did you get into that at all?
We really didn't. We didn't have enough access to enough files. I mean, that's going to take a broader analysis if that's done. And we were really just trying to figure out what were they doing, what was the focus of this strike force, and did it have anything to do with gangs, all of which we found was quite disturbing.
I know that some documents were shredded. Did that hamper your investigation?
It's unclear if it did or it didn't. We were unable because the people involved wouldn't talk with us, and most of the people that we wanted to speak to wouldn't consent to an interview. We really couldn't get to the bottom of that.
I'm wondering about the cases that the officers were investigating, and what happens to them now, given what we have found out in your report?
Well, first of all, the majority of the problems that we found were on cases that didn't go anywhere. So what you would see is a page or two of we went to this location, we took this money, we stopped this person, and that's the end of it. So there really is no future. For the ongoing cases, we've been working for the last 3 months with different police forces and prosecutors to make sure they have access to those files, and they do.
Now, a special master looks like is in the offing, and what will that person do if appointed?
It's something we felt strongly and we recommended. There's about $1 million left in funds for the strike force from different bank accounts. Some of that's going to have to go back to rightful owners because it was taken improperly. There are other people who had cars and other property seized improperly. They either need their cars or property back, or where it's missing, they're going to need to be reimbursed. On top of that, about $200,000+ needs to go to the Attorney General because it was never forwarded to the Attorney General under state law. So the special master will oversee that process. It's going to take a little while.
Are there models that this can be done better?
There are models all across the country, and we point that out in our report. First of all, we believe, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a prosecutor or was a prosecutor, you need to have a prosecutor involved if you're going to put together a sort of a multi-jurisdictional agency, because that's somebody who can make sure we stick to the mission, that we're investigating cases appropriately, and that we're doing things that will lead to a prosecution, not just a quick investigation and it's over. The second thing is it all should be housed and administered under the auspices of one police agency, so somebody's in charge and somebody's accountable.
And of course, the FBI continues to investigate. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Andy.
Thanks for coming down.
Thanks.